This transgender issue, it's all anybody wants to talk about, is that I called to ban transgenderism entirely. I made the point that if you want women to have their own bathrooms, if you think women ought to be able to have their own locker rooms and not have to look at gigantic, gross men while little girls are getting changed, if you want any of those things, you have to ban transgenderism entirely. It's not enough to say, well, you have to wait until you're 12 or whatever people are saying now.
Okay, so he probably has a name. You can think of him as a clone of Ben Shapiro. He is just calling for, again, what the end goal of this was always going to be. They dipped their toe in the water and they were like, so we can attack trans people, right? Like, we can find some cases like the athletes, I guess. We'll focus on that, high school athletes. And well, we're gonna talk about the bathrooms because we know we can scare people about that, even though it's based on absolutely nothing. And then we can say something about like medical procedures for young people. We'll pretend that they're happening to 5-year-olds. They're not, but we're gonna pretend. And a couple months go by and they realized, oh, our base loves this massive distraction. And it's now become my life to talk about this every single day, even though I never cared about it for the first 30 years of my life. So maybe we'll just get rid of all of them, like all of them. We'll just ban it. You cannot be trans anymore. We're not talking about 5-year-olds or 12-year-olds. No, 50-year-olds cannot be trans anymore. That escalated quickly, JR.
Extraordinarily, that's based the way these things always work. So this is the process. So as you mentioned, test the water, see if enough idiots actually agree with you. After you find that out, because you can maybe get elected on that, or you can make some money in this case on it by talking about it so much. Which, by the way, he started out by saying these trans issues, it's all anyone wants to talk about, as he talks about it. Still, I mean, forget that whole part. But still, after that. Yeah, so after they try to ban transgenderism, then they go to the next step of, oh, people aren't following the ban, however that's supposed to work, so they still exist. It's time to start corralling them up and start arresting them. After they've been arrested, nobody wants them around anyway because they're a pariah on society. They're killing folks. They're coming after your children, your little girls, as you point out there, and all that. So what's next is to then start eliminating them, right? Because history will continue to try, hopefully in this case, to repeat itself. It just finds a new target and a new reason, and the end result is always the same thing: getting more power as brutally as possible. So when these beginnings start, and someone like me says where it can go, they'll go, "Oh, look how crazy you are, hyperventilating over this." It's a very simple thing. Apparently, we were also hyperventilating over the decisions with women's rights in Roe versus Wade. Oh, you guys are saying they're gonna try and push this nationally? Yes, they are. And then after they take more and more rights away from women and then skirt it back to the beginning of conception, they'll also do that as well. After they say this is never gonna happen, then what happens is it happens. And they go, well, I mean, what do you want me to do? It's what God told me.
Yeah. Look, we're gonna break down why a person like this, who just wanted to be an actor in Hollywood or whatever and couldn't hack it, so has suddenly become a person who just is every day calling for the annihilation of a community of millions of people. There's a personal and then there's a broader reason. The personal reason that you would focus on this and become more and more extreme incredibly rapidly in terms of what you're calling for is that these people are all effectively Sean Hannity following the 2020 election. They are terrified of losing their audience and having to get a real job or whatever. They're all wildly jealous of each other. This guy wakes up every single day and is desperately jealous of the anti-trans grift of someone like Matt Walsh. And Matt Walsh is jealous of Ben Shapiro, and all of them are jealous of Tucker Carlson. All of them have a personal incentive where they just want to say whatever they have to say to get an audience and to get money, because they have a massive gaping hole inside of themselves and they think for some reason that a nicer house or a nicer car or a bank account is going to fix it. It won't. They're broken. They're wrecked people. That's why they put out so much vile filth into the world. That's a personal incentive. The larger reason that they're doing this, why the trans thing, why focus on these issues, is that every single one of these people, Michael Knowles, Matt Walsh, Charlie Kirk, all of them, they all look exactly the same. They're all basically the same person, is that they are tools for corporate America. That is literally it. Corporate America needs distractions to stop people from identifying what's really going on in the country and demanding solutions to those problems. They don't want you coming with your regulations or your higher taxes, expecting the government to deliver for you. So they hold up these nonsense attacks to get people who should know better to focus on that instead. And so this guy, so that in a couple of years he'll get a nice house or something, is going to shill for corporations every single day. He wakes up and figures out, how can I protect the wealthy? How can I protect corporations? They understand that that's wildly unpopular. It's a ridiculous life to live, which is why they sometimes cosplay as if they're populist, as if they have a problem with a corporation. But the most substantive critique of a corporation they can ever come up with is Disney did a gay kiss, or that publisher took out a naughty word. These are not actual substantive attacks against corporations. This doesn't actually threaten in any way corporate power in America. They just love to throw it out there. They like to, as a treat, pretend to be populists or something. But at the end of the day, they work to protect the wealthy and corporations, and they're not at all worried if along the way people lose their rights or get pushed in the shadows or get beaten in the streets or murdered. They don't care.
In fact, it helps.
Exactly. Well, it gets bloodthirsty people a little bit more focused. I would just love for these people to go back to the irrelevance that they had before they figured out that there are some really pathetic people online that want to be told that the worst parts of them are the best parts of them. It would be great for America if we were to get to that place again.
That's what happens when you have to fight for every dollar you can get in this type of system, even when you already have many of those dollars. It's a never-ending cycle, and therefore you have to sacrifice others for it.
Yeah, it's not. Do these people seem happy to you, dear viewer? Like, does it seem like Matt Walsh is happy? Think about what the people in Matt Walsh's life think of him. Like, think about like who he is, people who knew him and everything. You ever think about that? It's a pathetic way to live. It just isn't worth it. Because the thing about like a nice car, this has always struck me, you have to get out of it at some point. You get that? Like, you're not the car. Eventually you get out and you're the same terrible piece of garbage that you were behind the wheel. Just now you're exposed.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.